Good morning. My name is Hayden Brown. I am the safety administrator here at Beneke Construction. So I just wanted to start off by saying welcome to the Beneke team. We are excited to have you, and I myself look forward to getting to know you as a person, as a worker, while I'm out on job sites. So you'll see me out and about regularly. So what this presentation is, it sets the policies and procedures of Beneke Construction in terms of safety. So a lot of this stuff comes from federal and state OSHA, but there are some things that are company specific as well. So working hours. These will be established prior to beginning work. Your supervisor should communicate this to you prior, and then if there are any changes, he needs to let the whole entire crew know. PPE requirements. This is a big one. It's a simple one, but it's also an often neglected one. So here at Beneke Construction, we require a hard hat whenever there's an overhead hazard. So for example, if you're working in an area and the ceiling grid is out, you need to have a hard hat on. If someone is working on a ladder, let's say above you, or a scissor lift, and working with a bunch of tools, you need to have it on. They could drop it, could hit you in the head. Another time is if you're up on a ladder. I always say 2 steps, 2 rungs of a step ladder or an extension ladder. Make sure you have it on, protect you from a fall. Cut resistant gloves, like I have on here, they are required to be worn 100% of the time. Safety glasses, those also have to be worn 100% of the time. Full length sleeves or cut resistant sleeves must be worn whenever doing demo work. So full length sleeves, that would be your sweatshirt per se. And then the cut resistant sleeves, that's if you're wearing a short sleeve and you're doing all that demo work, got to make sure that you have it. Things like steel studs can nip you and get you pretty good sometimes. And knee pads, they can be provided upon request. A lot of times you might be on the ground for extended periods of times. You're going to want them. They will save your knees and help you in the future. High vis, that needs to be worn whenever there is traffic around or machinery such as a lull or a forklift. With scissor lifts, we usually don't require high vis, but depending on where you are, you may still need to wear it. And failure to comply with any of this will result in some type of disciplinary action. It usually starts with a verbal warning and then works its way up to a written warning, and so on and so on. PPE, it's not designed to make you look cool. It's not always the most comfortable. We try to make it comfortable and we try to get insights from everyone of things that they'd like, but it's there as your last line of defense. It really is the last line of defense. Make sure that you're wearing it when you need to wear it. I mean, most of it you have to wear all the time anyway, and I'm always here to help and get you PPE if you guys are running out and stuff like that. So let me know and I'll help you out. Hearing protection, this needs to be worn whenever the decibel level exceeds 85 decibels. So that is the action level. And at 90 decibels, that is the permissible exposure limit according to OSHA for 8 hours. So if you're unsure if it's too loud, always err on the side of caution. Hearing, you can't replace. So respirators, face shields, power tools. So any employee that's required to grind or cut concrete must use a respirator to protect you from that silica. Employees will also be required to wear a face shield when grinding or cutting, and that's whenever there's like flying debris that could hit you in the face. It's sharp. It can get pretty nasty. And with that, power tools. Ensure that guards are in place on grinders, specifically angle grinders and saws. And with those saws, make sure that you have those kickback fingers on. Also, ensure that the grinding wheel is rated for the grinder and that the guard is the correct size for the grinding wheel. The max distance allowed between the wheel and the guard is 1/4 of an inch. Make sure those guards stay on. Do not take those things off. And especially make sure that it's the right wheel, because if you don't have the right wheel, it could explode on you and send shards flying. So silica, lead, and asbestos exposure, this stuff is nasty. You don't want to be inhaling it. So in the event that employees are exposed to any silica dust, lead, or anything like that, the OSHA exposure guidelines will be followed, and use of engineering controls such as HEPA vacuums, wet methods, grinding and cutting, local exhaust, etc., Those will also be implemented, and use of proper PPE is important in order to limit exposures through inhalation. So dust masks, we also have PAPRs as well. We have a bunch of different ways that we can mitigate the exposure. So hazard communication, you see here we have the chart, the GHS pictograms, and the hazards that are associated with them. So what is HAZCOM? So any potential hazardous agent that could be encountered on the job site, that will be disclosed. We are required to disclose that. We have small QR codes that link up to the Beneke SDS, and it shows all of the chemicals and possible hazards that you might be exposed to while out on a job site. Fall protection. So falls are the most deadly cause of injury and anything else basically in construction. So use fall protection whenever you are at risk of a fall greater than 6 feet. So when performing positioning work, make sure you're utilizing lanyards. Employees involved in steel erection or decking, they will also have to be required to wear fall protection when working above 6 feet. Use SRLs when working near a leading edge. And also with SRLs, if you're in a man basket, use those because we're not going to use lanyards in that situation. It could bounce you out. So we use the small, people call them yo-yos, and they are 6 foot retractable lanyards, pretty slick, actually really nice for maneuverability. And if using guardrails, ensure that all the rails are within the correct height ranges and can withstand the correct amount of load horizontally. So the correct height range would be anywhere from 39 to 44 inches for that top rail. The mid rail has to be in between whatever the top rail is, and then toe boards have to be at least 3.5 inches tall. Ladders. So this is a big one. So never straddle a ladder to perform work. Always maintain 3 points of contact, specifically when you're climbing or descending. And tools, they should not be carried while you're climbing up. Use some type of hoist mechanism and don't place the tools on the cap unless it's like specifically designed to and has little holes to stick them into. This is so that they don't fall and strike other workers below. Always face forward when climbing a ladder and don't reach or lean in awkward positions to perform work. If you have to, get down from the ladder, reposition it, then get back on so you can do that work. So never use the top 2 steps of a step ladder, so the top cap is included and then the one below that. And then never use the top 3 rungs of an extension ladder. Don't use both sides of the step ladder unless it's specifically designed by the manufacturer, and it will say don't use step ladders in the closed position unless they are lean safe ladders. So in this picture, this is an example of a lean safe ladder. You can kind of see that it has the rubber grips on the back side of it. That indicates that it's lean safe and you can actually use it in the closed position. So the rule for extension ladders is 4-to-1. So the base of the ladder should be 1 foot away from a wall for every 4 feet of ladder height. So it's about a 75-degree angle. Extension ladders should ideally not be used in the fully extended position, which would be both sections completely out. So leave room for overlapping of the sections. When using ladders as egress, make sure that they extend 3 feet above that point of egress. So when you're going up to a roof, make sure that it extends 3 feet above, and usually that should have a swing gate as well. When on a ladder 2 steps or higher, we talked about this before, make sure that you're wearing a hard hat in case of a fall. And when working at heights 24 feet or higher, fall protection is required, or a personal fall arrest system in this case. A fixed cage is not considered adequate fall protection. You have to be tied off. This is as of 2018, they revised this standard. So scaffolding, make sure that it is built and inspected by a competent person. If the scaffolding is constructed 10 feet or greater than the lower level, fall protection is required. The use of vertical lifelines, when applicable, such as using the scaffolding as a 20-foot ladder. Scaffolding must be 14 inches or less away from a wall, or 18 inches or less if you're plastering or stuccoing. And always ensure that the top rails, the mid rails, and the toe boards are in place for that scaffolding. So, mobile elevated work platforms, otherwise known as MUPs. So with these, we have two different types, Group A and Group B. So Group A are the ones that move vertically within those tipping lines, and then Group B, they can extend out. Common thing are your man baskets, forklifts, stuff like that. So prior to using it, always make sure that you do that pre-inspection. Check the tires, the fluid levels, the brakes, all that stuff. Fall protection is required on Group B MUPs, and you can only tie off to those certified anchor points within there. Don't tie off to the guardrails. There are anchor points on those guardrails that you can tie off to. So lifts must be a minimum of 10 feet away from power lines that are 50 kilovolts or higher, and the clearance distance needs to increase as the kilovolts also increase. Ground fault connection interrupters must be used, or ground fault circuit interrupters must be used inside MUPs as well. And never stand on the guardrails of a MUP. Never do that. Never climb on a MUP either. I know that it can be tempting to stand on those guardrails to try and get up to a higher surface. Do not do that. Do not do that. So for outdoor rated lifts, if the wind speed reaches 28 miles per hour, then MUPs cannot be used. Electrical. So temporary electrical panels will be available throughout sites. Temporary electrical panels need to be waterproof. The inspection of cords, power tools, electrical equipment should be inspected daily for defects. If they're damaged, ensure to remove them immediately. Tag them. We'll get them repaired. GFCIs must be used. If house power is used, then temporary GFCIs must be in place. Hanging wires need to be secured above walking and working surfaces so it doesn't cause any obstruction, so no one's tripping. And daisy chaining of extension cords is prohibited. If you don't know what daisy chaining is, it's when you take two extension cords, connect them together, and create an even longer extension cord. You can't do that. You are usually overpowering the circuit, or there's not enough power when you're doing that. Lockout, tagout. So when maintenance is to be performed on equipment, LOTO procedures need to be utilized. So employees need to fit the power source with the correct locks, and tags need to be applied, signed by the person who's responsible for locking out the equipment. Only the person that's written on the tag shall remove the lock. No one else should ever remove that lock. So if multiple employees have locked out the equipment, then the equipment will not be put into service until all the employees have removed their locks off of that larger scale lock. And so employees working with or around the equipment will be notified when the equipment needs to be put back into service or when it is about to be put back into service. This is a very important thing when it comes to controlling hazardous energy. Fire prevention and protection. So on-site fire extinguishers need to be placed at a maximum of 75 feet from one another. Fire extinguishers will be checked regularly to ensure they're in working condition, and no combustible materials can be allowed near any welding or spark producing work. There has to be barriers or distance created. So to help with this, good housekeeping practices need to be followed so that combustible materials are not scattered throughout a work area, and all combustible materials will be discarded in the dumpster each and every day. With that, exits need to not be blocked whenever possible. Usually, they shouldn't be blocked at all. Cranes. So operators that possess a valid and up-to-date NCCCO card and be trained in the crane they are operating. They must have that. The operator is responsible for performing daily inspection of the crane. With that, we usually have a QR code in the basket, and so they can look in there, snap the picture of that, and do the inspection on there as well. With rigging practices, only certified riggers are allowed to rig loads. Employees shall never guide a rig load with their hands. You gotta use a tagline. Employees should never go below a rig load. This should go without saying. Don't go underneath that load. You never know if one of those straps could snap and all of a sudden you've got thousands of pounds falling on you. So cranes need to be outfitted with outriggers when necessary. And the following lifts require a detailed lift plan and a procedure that's assessed by a qualified engineer. These are otherwise known as critical lifts. So that is any lift that is 75% of the maximum capacity, any multi-crane lift, any lift over 100 tons, and picks are not allowed over occupied areas of existing buildings. Sometimes this isn't possible, but when it is, we don't want to be doing picks, large picks, over any type of existing building. But if it does have to happen, then we need to make sure that we have a plan for it. So each week there is a safety meeting, otherwise known as your toolbox talk. I send this out every week electronically. These kind of encompass a large variety of safety topics. I usually do them based on what I've been seeing out in the field. And then after they've been conducted, they get sent back to me. Um, and then I house them away. And quarterly, we give out Beneke bucks to people that have conducted the toolbox talk. So if you conduct a toolbox talk, you get one Beneke buck for that. So let's get into excavating now. Prior to excavating work being done, you must contact the proper utility service to ensure that all locations are completed. These locations will be updated as necessary. Shoring or sloping will be required in excavations 5 feet or deeper. A means of egress will be required every 25 feet in excavations of 4 feet or deeper. In excavations 4 feet or deeper, atmospheric testing must be done prior to beginning work and shall be tested regularly throughout. Excavations shall be inspected by a competent person before entry by any employees. Also, ladders should extend 3 feet above an excavation, and spoil piles need to be at least 2 feet away from the edge of an excavation. If an excavation reaches 6 feet in height or from the lower level, then that needs to be protected by some type of guardrail or barrier so that people don't fall. It is not a fall hazard. Accident reporting and investigating. So all accidents should be immediately reported by employees to their superintendent. The first report of injury must be completed by the end of the workday and submitted to the safety administrator, myself. And then employees should report near misses to their foreman or superintendent. And a near miss report is then filled out. We have that available via QR code. It's very simple. Those are very important. Please report near misses so that we can learn from those. Accident reports should be filled out thoroughly so that a general representation of the accident can be inferred. Don't just write a few words, give us something so that we can kind of imagine it in our heads as well. So any witnesses to the accident should be named in the report, as well as the superintendent of the job and foreman. If any emergency happens, call 911 and adhere to the Beneke Emergency Action Plan that is found in the safety manual. And I will perform the investigation after any accident, and some other people may be involved in the investigation as well. Now let's get into safety audits. So these will be conducted weekly by either myself or the superintendent or possibly even foreman. So when I'm doing these audits, I may ask a crew member to come along and perform the audit with me and see if they notice anything as well. So the benefits of this, it helps identify risks, identify strengths and weaknesses of both my hazard identification, but also yours as well. We can learn from each other. So it helps us make informed decisions. It allocates appropriate resources towards safety and helps us comply with regulations as well. So here at Beneke Construction, we care deeply about the safety of the public. Our adherence to public safety is our top priority. So when working in an area where there is public foot and vehicle traffic, we must ensure that we do not allow the public into those unauthorized areas. It's dangerous for them. Ensure that proper warning signage is up and around the work area. And when the delivery of materials is required, they should be pre-coordinated with the site superintendent and or foreman. And when you're out on site, make sure that you're always respectful to the public. Watch your language as well. If you are in the Mayo Clinic, a lot of times you'll be behind poly barriers, stark panels. Those are not soundproof. People can hear you loud as day behind there. So make sure that you're watching your language. As they always say, the patient comes first. One thing we do here is we do OSHA consults and compliance meetings. So these consultations, they happen on site and compliance as well. So it's expected that at least one employee must stay on site as long as the inspector is there. When a member of OSHA is reviewing the job site, a foreman or superintendent shall guide them through the job site and answer any questions they may have. If I'm available, I will also be there to guide them along too. Tobacco and alcohol, this also goes with drugs, so there will be no tobacco use allowed on the grounds of the job site. So this includes cigarettes, chewing tobacco, e-cigs, anything tobacco related is a big no. Alcohol is never allowed on any Beneke job site. No consuming prior to showing up to work either, not during. And then any illicit drugs are never allowed on the job site or to be used before any work is being done. We do have employee assistance programs, so if you are struggling with anything, we can help you out and get you the help that you need. Confined spaces. So anytime there's work that must be done in a confined space, the type of confined space must be determined prior to beginning that work. So permit required confined space, you'll need to have the permit posted outside of the confined space with the date and the duration of the entry, as well as the names of anyone that is around the area or expected to be a part of the confined space permit. So that would be the occupants, the attendants, and supervisors. So before entering a confined space, atmospheric testing should be done. Once in the confined space, the occupant should continue to monitor the atmosphere as well as the supervisor. If you ever are dealing with a confined space and you lose contact with the occupant, do not go in after them. Do not ever go after them. Contact 911 immediately. Heat-related illnesses. So this is something new to Minnesota, actually, and OSHA in general. So heat stress illnesses and symptoms. So there's multiple kinds. There's heat rash, heat cramps, heat exhaustion, heat stroke. Heat stroke is very, very deadly. So there's trigger points of our prevention plan. So a heat index of 80 degrees and above, 1 quart of cool drinking water per employee per hour, and a shaded or air-conditioned break area will be provided by Beneke Construction. And a heat index of 90 degrees and above, a mandatory 50-minute rest break at least every 2 hours must be had. An unpaid meal break that is considered a rest break in there. And then also supervisors need to monitor workers for signs and symptoms. And then also employees do a monitoring system, usually a buddy system, as well as implement some instrumental monitoring, looking at your phone, working out different types of ways to see what the weather is going to be doing throughout the day. And then warning signs must be placed in any indoor work areas where the ambient temperature or just the temperature within that area regularly exceeds 120 degrees Fahrenheit. In the event of any heat related illness or emergency, make sure to call 911 immediately and move that person into a cool area and attempt to cool the person and their core body temperature. Parking, so depending on where you're at, this is dependent upon the job site. For Mayo related projects, you usually have to go on a park and ride or find street parking somewhere. Other job sites on the outside, they may have a parking lot there, but you may have to park somewhere else as well. Lastly, I wanted to give you some contact information. So the first number, that is the Beneke office number. And then the second is my personal cell phone number. That is always open and on. I am always there to answer your questions or concerns that you may have, whether it be safety or other related topics. My phone is always on. If you need to have a conversation about anything, I am there for you. It's a safe space. It's a confidential space. It stays between us. If you're struggling with stuff, always make sure to reach out. I'm always there for you. Doesn't matter how long you've been with the company, how well you may know me. I want to look out for your best interests and make sure that you are safe in all aspects of your life. And so safety here at Beneke Construction, it's very important to us, and we look forward to improving the safety culture each and every day. It takes all of us. We look forward to having you on the team, and as our slogan is, zero today. So we always strive for 0 injuries today. We strive for 0 injuries this week. We strive for 0 injuries this month. We strive for 0 injuries this year. But it all starts with 0 today, one day at a time. Thank you for the time, and I look forward to seeing you out in the field.